Welcome, I'm Jason Axted from Aktion Associates, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Why Fax Users Are Moving to Infor CloudSuite Distribution. Before we get started, a little rundown of today's events. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a set of icons. You can request a demo, view and download a recommended content, and ask questions, which we'll also have time for at the end. There'll also be a poll for you to take directly after Rob Dallas's presentation, so we can kind of work together to assess the needs that you're looking for. A little bit about Rob, today's presenter, Rob Dallas. Rob has been helping distributors find their ideal software solutions for over 25 years. For those 25 years of experience, he's been working specifically with the Infor distribution product line for over a decade. He not only understands the software, but also the needs of the distributors, which allows him to better understand and assist his customer. Now, if everyone's ready, I will hand it over to Rob. Rob, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Welcome, everyone. As far as today's agenda goes, we're going to start by talking about distribution industry trends. I want to do a slight compare and contrast of CloudSuite distribution, or as it's often called CSD, versus fax. I have history and experience with fax, so I can do a good job of trying to compare and contrast those for you. We're going to talk a little bit about Infor distribution ERP solutions. Then we're going to spend most of our time in the demo. And then finally, we're going to end up with the action difference, as well as I try to save about 5 minutes at the end for Q&A. So please enter those questions in the chat box, and Jason will be sure to get those to me towards the conclusion of the session. So Infor is the author, or manufacturer, if you will, of CloudSuite Distribution, right? Just like they are a fax. They've gone through some growth. They are now the third largest ERP in the world. You can see their strong micro vertical expertise here as well. But I think what's important to note is they are striving to be leaders in technology and innovation. So not only continuing to add to the depth and the breadth of CSD, but also leveraging technology. How can we utilize technology to make users more efficient, to make their jobs easier? There's been many different challenges in the industry. We've all heard and complained about supply chain issues, right? So whether that's the manufacturing footprint changes, we've gone through that issue. We've gone through, again, supply chain issues where we're not getting what's promised from the vendor, or not on time, or not at all, right? And again, that was from a KPMG article this year. So as a wholesale distributor, the challenges you face today force you to rethink how you do business. Old processes just don't cut it anymore. So neither do legacy ERP solutions. So you need a solution that drives the rest of the business to be even more agile than people and process it supports. So you want to modernize your business and take it to the next level with CloudSuite Distribution. So it's a ready-to-run solution built specifically to meet the needs of distributors, gives you deep proven capabilities in key areas such as inventory management, order processing, pricing, rebates, supply chain, procurement, value add, real-time accounting, and much more. So how do you know when's the right time to migrate to CSD? Well, of course, you're facing increased competition, whether it be from big box retailers, online companies, global dynamics impacting supply chain, right? Again, supply chain issues. How do we manage our inventory better? How do we do a better job of forecasting? Social changes resulting in talent shortage, it's hard to find people that are qualified and are able to work on legacy systems. And in this new generation of workforce coming in, their expectations are much higher. They want to work with and use the technology that they've been studying, that they've grown up with, right? That they're using in their personal lives. And then, of course, regulatory requirements adding complexity, whether it's trusted products where we need certifications, expiration dates, just true auditing from start to finish. So what's included with your subscription? So at the top under the core capabilities, you see all your standard functionality that you'd expect. So that's your sales processing. So sales orders, quotes, invoicing, pricing. Your inventory management, your buyer demand center, procurement, forecasting, real-time accounting, right? No file lockings, which I'll touch on in a little bit. Proof of delivery, all of that comes out of the box. But there are many optional or extended solutions that you may or may not need today, but we also have the ability to add them in the future. So you really can price your subscription a la carte. WMS system, for example, right? So go paperless in the warehouse. Offering service. A lot of the distributors are having to do that these days, again, to give a better solution and customer service to your customers. Infor CRM to manage your opportunities in your pipeline. And all of it sits on what's called Infor OS. So it's the layer of technology, and that is included with your subscription. So that's, again, Coleman AI, artificial intelligence. So you can, again, ask the system, what is the status of this purchase order? Or what is my inventory position of this item? And the system can verbally tell you or produce those results for you. Workflows and alerts that you can initiate manually or can be automated based on a business event occurring in the system. Document management. So being able to store documents digitally and have them be associated with an entity in the system. So again, whether it be customer documents like tax exempt form, credit application, or you'll see in when I get into the demo, maybe it's a product image or a spec sheet. And all of it sits on Amazon Web Services. So let's do a little compare and contrast of CSD, CloudSuite Distribution, versus Fax. It runs in a browser, so no client required. Today, I'm sure you're remote desktoping to a terminal server if you need to have remote access. That's no longer necessary. And we can run on any device as long as you have internet connectivity, whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular. I mentioned real-time processing. Again, no file lockings. It's not case sensitive. That seems to always get a chuckle from Fax customers. Cloud option means no more upgrades, only monthly updates. Again, you don't have to wait till 5-7 years to need a new server to do an upgrade because it's such an ordeal and the process is so involved in training, implementation, etc. Now it's updated monthly. It's a true relational database, so you don't have sort files that need to be rebuilt. Performance doesn't depreciate based on the number of records. There are no errors. So you don't have to worry about the escape codes or the errors you may run into today. The next one I think is a big one. Deep out-of-the-box functionality and flexibility for extending the software versus that taboo term of modifications. Right? The deep functionality means we're eliminating 95 or greater % of the modifications that our Fax customers have. But we are able to do extensions which sit outside the system with what are called hook points. So again, we can manipulate or modify in a way, I still don't like to use the term modify, enhance the software to do what you need it to do, but at the same time, you're still able to consume those monthly updates. So what is some of the deep out-of-the-box functionality? Very good non-stock handling and the ability to add them on the fly, right in order entry, and different types of non-stocks. The system was designed on the ground up for large distributors, so multi-warehouse functionality, a true distribution center. Extensive search options, you'll see when I get into the software, very easy to find customers, products, vendors, etc. Invoice consolidation, native document management, as I mentioned, rebate processing, the advanced inventory management, so the purchasing is really the strength of CloudSuite Distribution. Expanded pricing options and functionality, sales tax interface, if you want to have real-time tax management and then file the taxes for you. And then, of course, the inventory allocations, intercompany sales, costing options, pricing management, etc. So with that, let me go ahead and turn off my camera so I can share my screen. All right, tab over to my Edge browser. Okay, what you're seeing here is where you land when you log into CloudSuite Distribution. It is a portal, if you will, is what it's called, and you can have many different what are called workspaces. So again, I could be in many different applications, whether it's analytics, the document management, CloudSuite Distribution. I can have bookmarks to my favorite functions within CSD. So again, quick access to if I will always use certain inquiries or entry functions, and as well as the different applications as well. When I connected, it took me to what's called my home page. And typically these are role-based. This is a template that comes out of the box for a customer service rep. Right? The idea here is that we can manage by exception. So the role-based, we're pushing out information based on their role. So here I may have some analytics at the top. I also have some of these widgets that are actually talking to CSD through APIs, so I can do processing. Notice I did a customer lookup and a product lookup. I can see customer-specific pricing right here on my homepage. Or maybe I want to see a list of their invoices, open or past, or their open orders, their AR position, quotes that they may have, any alerts that are important to my role, right? Shipment delays, quotes expiring. And then, of course, I've got my inbox, which would have my tasks, my notifications, right? As well as the ability to manually start workflows if I wanted to, let's say, remind myself or someone else to follow up with a customer or to do a freight claim. So I'm going to go ahead and use the navigation menu and go into my CloudSuite Distribution application, okay? And notice the first thing you see here is it takes me to a new system-wide search, which you have the ability to do. It searches everywhere, it's not modular anymore. We have menu access, of course, to drill in. Let's say if I wanted to go into customer inquiry, I could do so. Customer lookups are very easy and powerful. You just start typing what you're looking for. So let's say Northern Supply called and we want to see, first of all, some general information regarding the account. Right? I can see here, again, some general information, right? Their credit position. But notice on these sub-tabs, I also could maybe jump over quickly and see their period balance by ship to, or maybe transactions. And I could even then filter these out for different types of transactions. And notice whenever you see a blue hyperlink, that means you can drill down, right? So I could go straight to that journal and journal inquiry. I could go straight to that invoice whenever I see a hyperlink. So you always have additional information right at your fingertips. But let's say Northern Supply wants a question about availability and pricing, as well as the status of an open order, and maybe they want to place a new order or quote. So let's go ahead and I'm going to use an access code like you're used to today, and I can just type in pricing. So I could have entered in OEIP, but I could type in pricing, and again, you see any functions that contain those characters. So I'm going to jump right into the pricing inquiry. And notice one nice thing here, whenever you click on a field, the system remembers what you've been working with. So again, I could select Northern Supply, or again, I could enter in part of their customer number I know. Maybe it's part of their phone number that I know, or a contact's name, right? Or an address. Okay? Same with on the product. Again, quick and powerful lookups. If I'm looking for a grill, I don't get many hits, but if I add in built-in, now at the top, I see any items that contain both words. Again, similar to Google. I also get to see product availability before I even go in to and select an item. So we see here we have a nice image. I see availability. I see the list price of this item. I see this customer's today pricing, going through our pricing records and contracts. Okay. I can manipulate quantity, right? The unit here. I can actually go in and do a worksheet, do some what if type pricing scenarios, right? And actually create contracts or pricing records right here on the fly if I have security to do so. But I can also look at multiple items, record price, and at the conclusion, hit create quote and generate a quote right here from the inquiry. Okay? And let's say maybe they want the spec sheet of this item. So notice this smart panel over here on the right. So if I open this up, this takes me to my widgets, and they're context-based intelligent widgets. And what that means is these objects off to the side are monitoring what I'm doing and providing additional information. So it knows I'm working with customer 3020. I have just a logo here, but it could be, again, a credit application or tax exempt form. I could use this dropdown to see documents related to the item. Again, notice the image. So if you're somewhere where the system doesn't display a product image, you could quickly get to it, or that associated spec sheet that you may want to see. Again, I also have notes, maybe activities or follow-ups for that customer, right? And then my report viewers here as well. Right? You can leave this open, you can expand it so it's bigger. You can even pop it out and put it on a secondary monitor if you have one of those setups, okay? Okay, so now we've given them the information that they're looking for. So let's jump into order inquiry to check the status of that order form they asked for. And if you know the order, of course, you can enter it, but I'm going to do an advanced search, right? And notice by default, this is the field. these are the fields that I've defined as my defaults, because again, one goal is to keep the screens simple and clean. But maybe for this scenario, I need to use other fields such as the enter date range, or I don't know, maybe by product or by reference field, or maybe by transaction type. And again, notice it's reconfiguring the UI based on the technology in the web browser. Okay? You can have save searches. Maybe as a sales rep, I quickly want to get to my open orders or open quotes. In my example, I'm just going to search for the beginning of a customer purchase order number. And I'd search here. Again, as I mentioned, in the hyperlinks, I can drill down. It takes me right into customer inquiry, right, for that account. I could also then drill down into any of these records to see additional information. I see what stage this order's in. Right? One big difference between fax and CSD is we only have one order number, and it goes through these different stages as it's processed. And we don't have a document number and an invoice number, right? Notice here at the top, we do have a 2-digit suffix. So that way, if we have multiple shipments, right, we have a -01, -02, et cetera. Makes it much easier to collate on reports and inquiries. I see some nice analytics regarding the order, but of course, more importantly, I have the line detail. Again, notice all the different hyperlinks to different inquiries in the system. I can sort by any column. You can rearrange all the columns and set your default preference. I can export this grid to Excel, or I could even turn on filtering right here, because maybe in this 80-line order, I want to see the descriptions that begin with or contains or doesn't contain. So if I quickly wanted to filter out my tab extensions, I could quickly do so. That's on any column in any grid. You have that capability. So again, we review the status of the order, but they realized they didn't give us the customer purchase order, right? Their PO for it. So they email it to me, and I want to add it to this order. So I'm going to grab the email that they sent, the attachment, drag and drop it into the widget. And now what do I want to associate it with? In this case, the sales order. What type of document is it? It is a purchase order. And now when I hit upload, now this PDF is associated with, in this case, a sales order. I could attach it to the customer, to an item, right? Any entity in the system. So I could get to it through the full-blown document management module, but I could also use these widgets. So right when you're in a document, or you're in looking at a customer, or working with a product, you can see those digital documents you've associated with the Infor document management. All right, now let's say we've talked to them about, we've given them pricing, we've talked about an open order. Now they want to place a new order. So I'm going to jump in, right, to order entry. And commonly in order entry, we're either creating a new order, or maintaining or editing an existing order, or deleting or canceling an order. Notice it, again, it remembers who we were working with. So I don't have to do that customer lookup again. How often are you using a yellow scratch pad or yellow sticky notes, right? The system remembers everything you've been working with. Okay? There's only one entry function, but there's different types of orders you can enter. And of course, different things happen behind the scenes based on the type of order that you're entering. It makes the system much easier to learn and to use. So I'm going to go ahead and create a stock order. And notice the orientation is left to right. So I have my banner or header over here on the left. I could change the order type if I wanted to. Product selections in the middle. And then I have my shopping cart or footer over here on the right. There are multiple ways to find products, but you set your default preference. So every time I go in, this is what's called easy entry. And I prefer it because to me, it resembles what we're used to doing in our personal lives, right? A consumer grade experience such as Amazon. I see product images. I see a short description. I have availability here. I have this customer's today price, again, going through our contracts. But what I like about this easy entry is you might find multiple items that the customer's interested in based on the one search. And again, with one singular action, you can add all those items. Now you see them over here in my shopping cart or my footer. Excuse me. Now, at any time in the order, I could hit finish, and it takes you right out of the order. I don't have to workflow to a footer or an ending section of the order. So you really can get in and out of an order in 3 or 4 seconds. But I want to do some additional processing because maybe this customer says, I want to buy some additional items that I purchased in the past. So I'm going to jump into shopping list. And there are many different shopping lists. I'm going to drive off of past sales. So for any time period, you can get a simple list. So it's going to show each item once. of every item that they purchased during that time frame. And of course, I see available quantity, their price, current pricing, quantity recommended is the last quantity they purchased, last purchase date, last price, again, image, cost, margin. You can rearrange these columns any way you want. Right? So if margin and cost is important to what you're doing because you're pricing, you can pull those over right next to price. I could do a search, I could do filtering here, but what's nice about this grid is it's actually an order pad. So when you find the items that your customer wants, you can use your mouse, or I can go down with my arrow keys and carriage return and simply set multiple quantities. Then again, with one singular action, you can add all those items to an order. Of course, another entry method is advance. This will resemble what you're used to in fax. I can do a stock, non-stock, line, special order. Again, simple and clean. There are additional fields up here under extended. And any of these fields can be moved over to this view. So if you want cost, discount, margin here, of course you can do that for your user experience. And there's security around who can change what, of course. Let's just do one more item here. Let's say I want a frame. In this case, when I add this item to my order, right, we have it set up with options or companion items that you might be used to, or accessories is what we call them. So again, maybe I'll just do 3 of those and 1 of the belting. And now all 3 of those items are added to the order. I can jump over and look at the taxes and totals in my order. Right? Again, I can manually manage the taxes or use Avalara, for example. I can look at the totals, or I may want to collect payment. Right? Maybe a deposit, and that deposit stays with this order. It doesn't go to AR to be applied to other orders. And then maybe, again, we can take multiple payment types. They want to pay with some with a check, some with credit card. Integrated credit card system meets all the latest federal requirements, so it's PCI compliant, right? So it's tokenized. But in our example, let's just hit finish, and now it's going to go through and check credit. Maybe we're checking margin tolerances for this user, et cetera, and then the order will be processed. Okay. One last thing quickly that I want to jump into, maybe as a sales rep, I quickly want to go in and look at some analytics, whether it be for myself or for my customers. So I'm going to quickly jump into reporting and analytics. I see my home page here, which I can define any alerts. I can have favorites. I can have my bookmarks here of certain dashboards. Again, content comes out of the box. I'm going to jump into a sales rep dashboard. Now I can get a high level look at this important information. Right? Again, whether the KPIs that are important to me, sales categories, I could drill in and see, okay, who's buying of this category and not of this other category, so I can increase my sales from our current customer base. Right? We know that's obviously easier to do than to attract new customers. You see customer metrics, product metrics here, top 10 categories. And again, these come out of the box, but you can edit and take widgets from one dashboard, create your own. And again, have a more personalized experience for analytics. Because again, the goal here is to take all that data you have and turn it into useful information. Okay, so let me go back to, stop sharing my screen here. Okay, just a few slides here to conclusion, and then I want to make sure I have a few minutes for Q&A. So why Infor? Infor is very distribution focused, as I've been talking about. This is their flagship distribution product going forward. It's where they're investing all their research and dollars in not only distribution functionality, but also, again, in technology. And how can we leverage new technology to make users as efficient as possible? There is a poll that you can see in one of the other panels. We'd be happy to, again, see what level of satisfaction you have with your current ERP, which is fax. A little bit about Aktion. We have gone through some growth. We currently are over 220 employees across the country. We are a national reseller and IT infrastructure provider. We have 2 company-owned data centers, so we do hosting. Top 20 VAR in North America, and we recently received the 2023 Top Workplace Award, as well as some other recognitions you see here to the side. What makes Aktion unique? We are Infor's largest partner, but not only that, we partner with other leading technology providers to transform business operations for Aktion customers. Right? So we're not just isolated into Infor solutions. We have many other solutions as well. And we deliver high-value consultative services addressing business process improvement, what are best practices for your business. Having those meetings and those reviews with our consultants so we can sit down and do an operations review and see how can we make your business better, not only by updating the tools, such as the ERP, but also maybe by enhancing and changing processes. And then for ERP implementations, our proprietary lean implementation process ensures a successful go live. And of course, change is hard, so that's very important to all of us. Okay, I talked a lot, but Jason, I think I left a few minutes here. So I will throw it back to you. Do we have any questions?
I think actually you may have so far answered everyone's issues and questions that we have attending. So thank you very much. It is now, we're getting ready to the end of today's event and webinar. I'd like to thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us today. On the screen, you'll see our CSD feature video library. You can click on that link down at the bottom, and it'll take you to everything you need to know about Infor and Infor CloudSuite Distribution, tutorials, customer success stories, brochures, white papers, and many more pieces of information that you need. Thank you for attending. This will be recorded, so if there's anything that you think you missed during the course of this presentation, please visit aktion.com to view this whole webinar at your own convenience. Thank you again to Rob. Thank you to everyone for attending this today, and we hope you have a nice day. Thank you. Have a great one.
Take care.